In today's video, we're going to be doing the highly anticipated S197 swap. We're going to get rid of this old, heavy ABS unit and put in this more advanced and much lighter ABS unit into the S195 Mustang here. Stay tuned. Welcome back to another video. We are going to be replacing the ABS on the car. This potentially could be one of the best upgrades that I make to the car this year. As you guys probably already know, that I had a ABS unit from like a New Edge Mustang, had it mounted underneath the dash because this car was not originally an ABS car, and if it was, it would have been a 3-channel one, which means that the two fronts have a line going to them, and then the rear has just one single line, so it's not able to actuate the brakes independently for the rear. So I'd upgraded to a 4-channel system from like a 99 Cobra is what I had in there. And since it was something that I added and I had everything stripped out, I just put it underneath the dash. There are videos for that install, but we have since ripped all that out and we are going to be upgrading to S197 Mustang 1. Specifically one out of a 2013 to 2014 Mustang. So those are some of the best ones from the research that a lot of us have done. Those are some of the best ones to be able to upgrade. What makes this one better is because it also takes in the yaw sensor from the RCM, the restraint control module that is also in the Mustang. So that is a module that will go inside the car and it will connect to the ABS via CAN, and it will be able to send to the ABS like when the car is braking, accelerating, yawing, all that kind of information. So that will make this unit work way better from the research that I've had, and I've talked to other people that have had 2013, 24 Mustang, and yeah, they say that the braking is one of the things that they really love about the car. So this unit is out of a 2014 Mustang. They're basically all the same that I can tell, but this one is specifically from a GT car. I am changing up the mounting. So the mounting of these on the original Mustang would have been right in this kind of location. I would have loved to be able to do that, but we were still running the vacuum booster on there, so we just did not have the room. I tried all kinds of different configurations to make it fit. Since I have nothing, literally nothing, I've taken out all the ABS lines, I'm gonna try to mount it right up in here, right up in the fender. Some other components that you definitely want to have when purchasing a system: you need to change out your ABS speed sensors. It does use a different style from the VR ones that are on this car. I think it is still a 2-wire, but I think these are active sensors where those ones are passive sensors. So we are going to have to replace all the speed sensors on the car and make sure that the orientation is correct. So we may have to modify, drill some new holes on the front and the rear. The tone rings should work just fine from everything that I've figured out. And then the RCM module, as I said, the restraint control module. This is also out of a 2014 Mustang. Got this one off of eBay, so hopefully it works. But yeah, we'll need to mount this inside the body in some place. It does have on there kind of which direction. So it will need to be mounted with that forward, obviously pointing forward. So that means on this one, connectors going forward. Lastly, the wiring harness. So this is one that's basically kind of cut up and stripped out. So since I bought these things, you know, from eBay and Parts Farm, didn't get the connectors with them at all. So doing some research, I found that the connector on this ABS module is the same for a lot of Fords during this same era. So Mustangs, F-150s, Expeditions, F-250s, they all had the same connector, which makes it really easy to go find this connector in the junkyard. But yeah, I was able to go to the junkyard and pull this off of a 2015 F-250, and the connector works up perfectly. The RCM module worked up perfectly. You can also buy a replacement harness for the ABS. That's how I kind of figured out what model years worked. You can buy one from Rock Auto that is just like a pigtail coming off. I don't know if it has all the pins that you may need in it though. I have heard that it didn't have it might not have like the can pins in it, which is the main ones that we need. And it's over $100. So this, I don't remember exactly how much I paid for the harness, but probably 20 bucks or less. As I was figuring out locations, this inner fender area is seeming like the best location. It's unused. We'll have the fender liner in here to protect it. Easy access to the master cylinder, easy access to the wiring, easy access to get to all the brake calipers. I can just kind of come around here, go to this one, obviously. Go into that one, I might go down the front, might go through the engine bay, I'm not sure yet. And then go into the rear, we could just kind of drop down here and do a similar side as the passenger one. Here is the bracket for the 2014 Mustang. So it would kind of go in like so. It has this little tab that would place it in there, and it kind of puts it at this angle. So I was wanting to do a similar kind of angle setup, kind of like right in this area. So as you can kind of tell, this is some interesting angles to be able to try to go like this. You got this plane that's on a different one. You got this that's on a different plane. You got this, all kinds of weird angles going on. And these two bolt holes right here are for the cruise control that was originally here. I don't think this car actually had the cruise control, but if you had a car with cruise control, this is where it would be. So we got these two holes that are here to be able to reuse. So instead of trying to measure this all by hand and probably not getting it right, I found an app on in the App Store to put onto my phone that uses photogrammetry to basically take a whole bunch of pictures and then turn that into a 3D model. Because I don't have a 3D scanner, I really would like to get one, but this allowed me to kind of dip my toes into using a 3D scan into Fusion 360. So we will jump over into Fusion and we'll design up a bracket to see if we can make that actually work. This is my imported 3D scan using photogrammetry. So as you can see, there's just literally kind of pictures to create a 3D scan. I did do a scaling of it, which I basically kind of either measured between these mounting holes or these spot welds and then scaled it. I then turned that into a mesh, brought in the ABS module and kind of positioned it to where I thought it would work the best, trying to get the angle kind of right. I want the tubes to be on the top so air can easily bleed out. And then I started designing a bracket around that. Kind of followed similar design cues from the factory one to have the isolation mounts in there. So we had to make sure that we measured those and got those spaced off correctly to have the proper gap in there. And everything seems to line up. There's a lot of complex angles kind of going on. So I load my drawing up into Sen Cut Sen. I got all the locations for the bends. I apply the angles that I need. As you can see, there are warnings on there. If I was actually a design engineer, I would have probably been able to design a better bracket that didn't have some warnings, but we're going to accept them and say that they are okay. So we load that in there, and when we actually apply all the bends, look at that. It looks just like it did in the model, but we will send it off, see what we can actually, what we actually get back actually works on the car. Sen Cut Sen is freaking awesome. So I've already gone and put in the rubber isolation mounts. Slight oversight on my part on that one, I think. So I had measured out the holes, but didn't account for the thickness of the powder coating. So it was a little undersized, a little tight to get in there, but they're rubber, so they fit in there just fine. But if I make another bracket, I will probably oversize that a little bit. I also couldn't find anyone, so that's why I reused the rubber isolations from the factory bracket. I might have to try to find some other ones if I do ever make any more brackets. But yeah, they were kind of a pain to get out of the bracket. But look at that. Everything kind of fits in there perfectly. I do need to, you know, drill a hole up in here and put in either a riv nut or see if I can kind of screw into that. But all the holes on this actually line up quite nice. It puts it exactly where I wanted it to be. We got clearance just in there, so I will need to now figure out the wiring. I need to still drill that top hole, get this thing all solidly mounted. But yeah, I am super stoked. I haven't had to bend this at all. Everything is exactly as I modeled it, so I am super stoked with that. The photogrammetry app worked perfectly. Eventually, I think I need to really spring for a 3D scanner. That would make things even better. All right, we're inside the car, trying to figure out where to be able to put this RCM module. I do have my harness. As you can see, that there's only a couple lines really left in here. So it obviously did not come like that when I picked it up. It came with all of these cables in there, but this is all for airbags and the seat belts and stuff like that. So we don't need any of that junk in this for this race car. All we really need is we got a can, which will go in between the RCM, the ABS, and then I will make up a connector to do like a OBD2 plug, so we can then connect into it, read anything that we need to, but also be able to bleed out the ABS if we need to. But I may even be able to connect it up to my race capture and then actually be able to record stuff. So that would be really cool if we can make that work. And then there's also another dedicated can that runs directly from the RCM to the ABS, which then is where I think all the IMU data is sent back and forth. So it has a dedicated line that runs just between the ABS and the can. And then the only other wire in here is then power. It gets its ground through the case, so you do want to make sure that whenever you mount this, that it is actually grounded through the case to the body. Can't really see maybe on the camera, but right off view, I have put the HVAC blower assembly back into the car, because that is one of the things that I want to try to do later this year, is to get the AC actually working in this car. And I'm just tired of being hot, honestly. So I will take the weight penalty, which is fine. It's not that much weight, honestly. But yeah, being comfortable when it is over 100 degrees out and stupid humidity is going to be way more beneficial than the little bit of weight gain. Starting to work on the brake lines for this. So for the ones from the master cylinder, for the primary and secondary, I'm just going to be using these hoses, because that was kind of the easiest way to be able to get from the M10 and the M12 on the master cylinder to the M14 by 1.5 and M12 by 1.5 on the ABS module. Some of the tools that you'll be needing for this, some tools to be able to bend the lines, some ones to do different types of flares. So on the brake caliper side and on the master cylinder side, they're all bubble flares. So we'll need something to do that. On here, they're inverted flare ones. So we'll need a tool to be able to do that. And this one will do both of those. Something to be able to cut the lines cleanly. You don't want to take pliers and cut it, or scissors or anything like that, because that's going to crush the tube. You need something that you can kind of put on there and spin around to get a nice clean cut. You'll still need to clean up the edges a little bit there, but otherwise that gives a nice clean cut. And then we'll need stuff to support the line. So I got a whole bunch of little plastic clips to be able to go around to be able to support these. Also has some P-clamps as well to be able to support it in other areas. So a couple different options for doing all of that. This straightener, so that's another tool that you'll need, because this is how the brake lines come. They come in a roll. So we use a straightener. So this is just one that I got off of Amazon. It's a Titan one for the 3/16 line. And yeah, you could basically just put it through and it gives beautifully straight ones when they're in a roll like this. So you kind of get them to come through, and yeah, it gives really nice straight lines.
For the wiring, I basically got it down to just the wires that I needed, which are 4 wheel speeds, 2 cans, 3 powers, and 2 ground wires. I then started running the wires to where they needed to go. For the ones going inside the car, I was using that bulkhead connector that was right on the firewall. That will have the rear wheel speeds and the cans and then the ignition power. For the 2 main powers for the ABS module, those will be going to the fuse box that's inside the engine bay. For the wheel speed sensor, I needed to drill a new hole, so I used a little piece of metal to basically get my gapping off of the trigger wheel, drilled a new hole, then tapped it, and then I was able to install the wheel speed sensor as normal. The rear axle then also follows the same process as the front wheels. Here's the completed wiring for the RCM. One thing that I didn't quite mention is termination resistors. So the can needs to have a 120 ohm resistor at each end. So that's what that Deutsch 3-way connector is. Then the wiring runs along underneath the seat. It basically then goes up here to splits, where part of it goes to the bulkhead connector, and then that one will go off to the dash to be able to run to like an OBD2 wire. So running up here, it goes into that bulkhead. Then on the other side of the bulkhead is where it then runs into the ABS module. Again, I have the 3-way Deutsch, which has a 120 ohm resistor in there. The main powers then run forward to the fuse box that is in the engine bay. I ended up reusing the ABS fuse that's in there, and then I needed another one, so I repurposed the convertible one that I obviously don't have a convertible. The plumbing is all complete. Everything is well supported. I used P-clamps or little plastic clips wherever I could to basically support the line so that things aren't going to move around, vibrate, damage. The main lines that were coming in, when I started filling this with fluid, they were starting to leak. So I ended up putting a copper washer underneath both of those. And that seemed to stop the leaking from happening.
The rear ones, they go down and then go along the subframe connector to each of the back ones. So these, if you haven't seen in a previous video, these are basically off of newer like new edge Mustang. Next up is to get this all back reassembled, get the brakes properly bled, and then we'll go take it for a drive and make sure that it actually works.
I mentioned earlier about using an OBD2 scanner to bleed the brakes. I have not been able to actually get that to work. Whenever I go into the brake bleed function, it's not able to actually find what the car is since it doesn't have a PCM. It's unable to determine what type of car it is, so it fails. So I'm going to have to do kind of the old-fashioned way of taking the car for a drive, getting the ABS to actually get all the air to bleed out of the ABS system, and then bleed the brakes as normal.
All right, we are out at Test and Tune. Today we are going to be making sure that the ABS is actually functioning. So I've driven around on the street. There's only so much that we can actually do on the street. So we are at a private Test and Tune out at NC Car. So we are going to put the car through the paces and make sure that this ABS is going to be good for the autocrosses that we got coming up, with the first one being a national tour. I would have liked to be able to get a couple events before the national tour, but that's why we got this Test and Tune luckily that was set up, and we will go test the car, make sure that the ABS is all functioning as expected.
The course was more set up for handling, with having some slaloms and some sweepers, not really any hard braking zones, but we were spaced off pretty well to where I was able to do some hard braking to kind of get an idea of how the brakes actually are feeling and working. Overall, the brakes feel really good. I have gotten ABS to actuate some, but really I'm going to need like proper autocross course to be able to really put this thing through its paces, to be able to go from a high speed to a hard braking zone and see how it's actually going to really behave. Overall, I'm really happy with how the brakes are working. There's really not much information out there for this swap.
To close out this video, I just wanted to put up a list of all the parts that I bought to install the S197 ABS into my S195 Mustang. These are parts that I installed. They may not be all the parts that you need if you were installing it in whatever car you were. You may need more, you may need less. I also don't really have on here some of the electrical connectors, such as the Deutsch pins and connectors, because I had those laying around. I also think I didn't have the P clamps and plastic clips, because I already had those laying around. This also does not include any tools that you may need, because a lot of those I already had, such as Deutsch crimpers, tube cutters, crimpers, the flaring tool, all that kind of stuff that actually goes involved with installing a package like this onto a car. All in all, I am about $650 to $700 into this swap, so still a considerable amount, but from what I've heard or researched for the MK60 ABS, it is cheaper. I mean, like, just the ABS unit alone was 60 bucks. Yeah, I haven't seen any MK60 that is that cheap. Things obviously escalate as you start adding in all the other parts that are actually required to install the ABS, but the module itself, which is usually the most expensive part of a system, is really cheap for the S197 Mustangs, at least right now. We will see how those things change in the future, but thank you guys for watching this video. We will keep hammering on the ABS, seeing how it really behaves in autocross and hard braking conditions. But for now, we will see you guys in the next one. Later.